We're on here on Wednesday night, and tonight we are talking about a deathbed revelations from a child. Very exciting. But first, I just want to tell you, this is part of what I'm talking about today is in my book, The Spirit World Talks to Us, 12 Accounts from Near Death and Other Experiences. All this information I'm bringing to you is brought to you from Spiritism, from Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism, and then mediums who are Spiritist mediums who followed on after him, Leon Denis, Yvonne Pereira, Reverend G. Val Owen, Chico Xavier, very famous. He's got more than 450 books. I recommend that you look at his books on Amazon, or you can get a link from my site. And to know about Allan Kardec, real quick, I would love for people to, there is a Netflix movie out called Kardec. And if you have Netflix or a friend has Netflix, please look at that movie. It tells all about Allan Kardec. He was very skeptical at first about spirits, and then he started finding these things that were true, and he codified Spiritism by giving a set of 1,019 questions to different mediums throughout different locations. And he didn't use the information unless the different mediums in different locations came back with similar or exactly the same answers. So to me, when I read the Spirits book by Allan Kardec, it was just a revelation. So please go see the movie. Now, let's start. This is amazing. This story is amazing. This is Daisy Dryden. And Daisy Dryden was a normal 10-year-old girl. She never exhibited a predilection for spiritual thought or actions. She never communicated with the dead, with the spirit world. But then, in the last 3 days of her life, she did. What her family heard and saw so amazed them, her mother wrote a book about the entire ordeal. What is all the more remarkable is that her passing occurred in 1864 in San Jose, California, as the Civil War was still in its, almost coming at the end, but it was still being fought. So the book where I got this information from was the book Daisy Dryden, a memoir. It was published in 1909, written by her mother, Mrs. S.H. Dryden. It was based upon notes she kept during Daisy's illness. Now, Mrs. S.H. Dryden also relied on recollections from her other family and friends who were around her during the 72 hours of her daughter's slow physical deterioration. All the while, Daisy was mentally alert. The book was copied by the Internet Archive, and I have a link to where it was posted. It is also available. You can buy on Amazon. Now, accounts of near-death experiences of people seeing, hearing, and feeling the presence of intelligent life in another dimension are as old as history. But the stories have, until the present Internet age, always seemed somewhat isolated, as if a chance occurrence like a tornado setting down, plowing up an abandoned field, and subsequently disappearing. Now, more people are coming forward with their own tales, people of all religions, cultures, races, all discussing similar themes and knowledge from beyond. In fact, so many reports from reputable sources, which are hard to dispute, are accurate recollections of scenes inside the emergency or operation rooms while the person was declared clinically dead. Researchers are now engaged in collecting evidence. Some studies have been published with the conclusion that there's some unexplainable phenomena occurring. I read about Daisy's last days and detected the enormous parallels with modern day accounts, the discussions with deceased family members, life in the spirit realm, that I wanted to demonstrate the unbroken narrative from over 150 years ago to today. And I want to tell all the people who listen that the spirit world is and always has been with us and communicating with us. We are spirits, and our physical bodies, what's right here, are but temporary, a vehicle for us to live a short time in order to learn the lessons assigned to us. Now, let's talk about Daisy. So interesting. Daisy Irene Dryden was born in Marysville, California, on September 9th, 1854. Her father was a Methodist minister who had brought his family west. They landed at San Francisco just after a great fire and saw the city devoid of standing buildings, except a few on the outer hills. Daisy had brown eyes and long brunette curls. Her mother describes her this way. In most ways, Daisy was very much like other children, it has been said, until it almost became a proverb, that good children die young. But Daisy was not always good. There were times when she was self-willed, even to stubbornness. Obedience was often a very bitter morsel. She had a quick temper. There would be a sudden flaming up of fire in those brown eyes, and angry words would follow. And then there would be just a sudden repentance. She tried hard, however, to subdue this fateful weakness in her nature. I remember once on an afternoon of a day when she had told me she had not been angry for a week, and she seemed so happy over it, that she came in from the yard where she'd been playing with some other children and ran upstairs to her room with a flushed face. I knew from her looks that something had gone wrong. Presently I heard her sobs. I went halfway up the stairs, thinking to comfort her, but I was at that point arrested by these words: "Oh, dear Lord, forgive me and make me strong so I won't get cross when I can't have my own way." So, when Daisy was 8 years old, the family moved to San Jose, California, known at that time as the Garden City of California. Then Daisy came down with a sickness. Her mother tells us, in the summer of '64, Daisy was attacked with bilious fever, from which, however, she seemed to recover, so that we thought her almost well. But she continued to droop in the afternoons and complain of great weariness. We called in a physician, and he decided that she had typhoid fever. Of course, now, typhoid is something that was a recurring, bad sanitary conditions, probably bad water. Happened a lot before we had much better water. So what her mother was saying, it had such a hold on the system that it was feared it would have to run its course, and that only depended on her vital forces, whether or not she would get well. For 5 weeks, she laid under the blighting hand of a consuming fever. Then it left her. And a second time, she seemed on the road to recovery, so that the doctor remarked one morning, "Well, Daisy, I guess we are out of the woods." And taking a new silver $50 from his pocket, gave it to her, saying, "This is for the little girl who takes her medicine so well." But when the doctor had gone, she said, "Mama, don't build up any hopes on what he says, for I don't think I'm ever going to get well." The same remark she had previously made during the early part of her illness. Some days after this, I said, "Daisy, we're going to go to Nevada City to live, and I'll get you a suit of flannel, and you shall have a warm cloak, because you are so thin and it is cold up there." I thought she would be pleased, as she could remember having lived there before, but she replied, "Mama, you will go to Nevada City, but I don't think you will take me with you." So this is amazing, parts of this book. It's startling, and it shows you, and the most wonderful thing about Spiritism, it shows you what's on the other side. It shows you that this child was always taken care of. But think of the parents, right? Imagine the dread of any disease your child may have had in the days, even before antibiotics and other medicines. Only each individual's constitution and willpower stood between life and death. Bacteria could lay fallow in one's systems for great length of time, only to flare up whenever the body was weakened. The night after Daisy told her mother she wouldn't be traveling, she was struck with enteritis, an inflammation of the small intestine. Now, that's very curable in our present day, but often fatal in the 19th century. For the first 24 hours, she was in great pain and unable to keep any food or medicine in her system. After that first day of great discomfort, she felt little agony during the last 3 days of her life. Daisy, like so many before her, from stories of people in their deathbed at home to the accounts that any staff at intensive care units can tell you, people have premonitions of their death and are ready for it. Daisy was actively assisted in her last hours. She had the companionship of her brother, Allie. He had passed away 6 months earlier by scarlet fever. Mrs. Dryden found out about Allie when she asked if Daisy could come back and visit here after she went to heaven. Then Mrs. Dryden wrote this: "He seemed to be with her a great deal of the time during those last 3 days, because when we asked her questions which she could not answer, she would say, 'Wait until Allie comes and I will ask him.' On this occasion, she waited only a short time and then said, 'Allie says I may go to you sometimes. He says it is possible, but you will not know when I am there, but I can speak to your thoughts.'" exactly what Spiritism tells us, right? Spirits can speak to our thoughts. We may not recognize them. We may just kind of think, what? Is that some random thought in my mind? But no, a lot of that, I know it's hard. Even I can't tell the difference to me. But it's there. The spirit realm brought a person close to Daisy to help her through the ordeal of leaving her body. They knew how to mentally prepare for separation from her loving mother and father. The love of the spirit realm for our plight on earth can't be overestimated. Daisy, a loving and innocent child, was given the utmost care during her 3 days of impending departure. Adults are also frequently assisted. For those of us that have accumulated a bounty of love along the path of our life, the spirit world lends us and our family a hand in our final passage. In the book Workers of the Life Eternal, dictated to Francisco Chico Xavier by the spirit Andre Louise, and Andre is a member of the team that assists people to leave their physical bodies to return to life in the spirit world. In that book, Workers of the Life Eternal, I'd recommend that book. The discarnated father of the man dying with his family around him asked the other spirits to work with him to make his son's name was Fabio, last hours pleasant. This is what he asked the team. I know that Fabio's liberation will require a great deal of effort. However, I would like to help him with the last home worship in which he will physically participate at his family's side. As a general rule, a dying person's last words are more affectionately recorded in the memory of those who remain behind. For that reason, I would really like to help him say a few words of advice and encouragement to his wife. So there was a team of spirits, and they applied lengthwise passes over Fabio's whole body, giving him the strength to participate at his last family's gathering. Fabio then tells his wife that he'll always love her and that she should find comfort with another if that is her wish. He tells her that he'll help her all he can while in the spirit realm. Fabio's father then put a hand on Fabio's forehead, and his father was in the spirit, and he inspires Fabio to say this: I am happy to have this opportunity to exchange ideas with you alone according to the faith we share. Significance is the absence of our old friends who for so many years have accompanied us in our family prayers. There is a reason for that. We must talk about our needs, full of courage but never forgetting about the upcoming farewell. The words of the apostle to the Gentiles are symbolic for our current situation. Just as there are mortal bodies, there are also spiritual bodies, and we can't ignore the fact that my mortal body will soon be returned to the welcoming earth, the common mother of the perishable forms in which we move about on the face of the globe. Something deep down tells me that this will perhaps be the last night that I will meet with you in this material body. At times, when sleep blesses me, I feel that I'm on the verge of the great deliverance. I can see that enlightened friends have been preparing my soul, and I am sure I will leave at the first opportunity. I believe that all the necessary measures have already been taken to ensure our tranquility during these moments before the separation. In fact, I'm not leaving you any money, but I find comfort in knowing that we have built the spiritual home of our sublime union, and it will be an indelible source of reference for our everlasting happiness. That's what Fabio said. That was his last formal words to his family. Fabio died peacefully later that night, while his loving family was consoled and deeply touched by his last words. What better ending to physical life than what Fabio and his spirit helpers were able to construct? He gave spiritual advice, joy, and hope in the final moments. There would be no need for second guessing from his family about the end, no regrets of not saying the final farewell. For the last words are not about saying goodbye forever, but a message really of seeing you soon. For at some point of time in the future, all shall be reunited in the real world, the domain of the spirits, the universe where we actually live the vast majority of time. For as we gain purity, we will reincarnate less and less often until we come to the junction where to reincarnate is a choice, a mission gladly undertaken to help others as others have supported us before. That is all part of our journey to become perfect spirits. We are on earth to learn, to mold our character, to rip out our primitive emotions, jealousy, envy, materialism, and replace them with the more enhanced emotions, the beautiful emotions, love, fraternity, charity, honesty. So now let's talk about Daisy's last days and the wonderful things that happened. So as Fabio was surrounded by the physical and spiritual family, so was Daisy. How many of us understood when Jesus said, "Let the dead bury their own dead"? That was in Matthew chapter 8, verse 22. What did he really mean? Well, Spiritism reveals his meaning. Spiritism pulls the covers off of many of his parables. Jesus knew that the spirit realm and how it functioned. He fully realized the time and effort our spirit guides consumed in fashioning a blissful transition from our physical form to our true spirit bodies. Daisy was well appraised of what was awaiting her. Her mother reported this. 2 days before she left us, the Sunday school superintendent came to see her. She talked very freely about going and sent a message by him to the Sunday school. When he was about to leave, he said, "Well, Daisy, you will soon be over the dark river." After he had gone, she asked her father what he meant by the dark river. He tried to explain it, but she said, "It's all a mistake. There is no river. There is no curtain. There is not even a line that separates this life from the other life." And she stretched out her little hand from the bed with a gesture and said, "It is here, it is there. I know it is so, for I can see you all, and I can see them there at the same time." That's so true. We just can't see it. Some of us can, actually. Some people, mediums, can. The spirit world is all around us. Spiritism tells us we can only see 1/8 of the spirit world around us. 1/8 of the whole spirit world. That means we can't see the other spirits here. We can't see the free. We can't see different aspects of light or different colors. And therefore, for a brief moment of time, Daisy served as a bridge between two worlds. Daisy gave comfort to a mother who had lost 2 children to illnesses. The mother goes on and says this. The same day her Sunday school teacher, Mrs. H., who also was with her a great deal, was sitting beside her when Daisy said to her, "Your 2 children are here." Now, these children had gone to their other life several years before, and if they had lived in this world, would have been nearly grown up. Daisy had never heard anyone speak of them, nor did the mother have any pictures of them. So she could not have known anything whatever about them before seeing them in the spiritual world. When she asked to describe them, her description of them as full grown did not agree with the mother's idea of them. So she said, "How can that be? They were children when they died." And Daisy answered, "Allie says, children do not say children. They grow up as they do in this life." Mrs. H. then said, "But my little daughter fell, and she was so injured she could not stand straight." And to this, Daisy replied, "She's all right now. She is straight and beautiful, and your son is looking so noble and happy." Again, Allie is partially correct. Most children who pass away are raised and cared for in the spirit world. It's all there in spiritist literature. It's all there in my books. I talk about it in my book, Heaven and Below, Spirits in the Spirit Universe. I talk about it in Explore Your Destiny, and then The Case for Reincarnation. I talk about children in the spirit world. They are there and they grow up. So it all depends, though. Most children who pass away are raised and cared for in the spirit world, like I said. But the high and more mature spirits, they will revert back to their true form, and they have no need to relive the childhood years, which allows them for their character to be molded for the better, right? So what does happen when a child dies? Let's talk about that. Some religions which profess the existence of reincarnation believe that when a child dies, the spirit returns to adult form, so they may start over. In a few of the books by the spirit Andre Louis, there are mentions of places where spirits care for children. One would think this would be a rare occurrence. After all, newly formed spirits are first reincarnated upon primitive worlds and live many successive lives. Now, there is an explanation for this mystery in the book Between Heaven and Earth by Francisco C. Xavier, inspired by the spirit Andre Louis. Andre Louis is talking to his companions when they are visiting a center for spirit children, and as usual, Andre is curious about such centers. He records the following conversation. According to the old classical theology, newborns remain in limbo after death without the glory of heaven or the torment of hell. Whereas of late, with the new concepts of spiritualism, such discarnates have been thought to immediately resume their adult personage. So a lot of times, this is what actually happens, explains one of Henri Louis's companions. When the spirit has reached an elevated evolutionary level and has assumed mental command of itself, it acquires the ability to easily disengage itself from the imposition of the physical form, overcoming the difficulties of pre-adult discarnation. We know of great souls who were reborn for a very short time, simply with the objective of awakening beloved hearts to the acquisition of moral values. Then, right afterwards, they recover their former appearance. However, the same does not apply for most children that discarnate. Souls that are still prisoners of unconscious autonomism are relatively a long way from self-governance. They rest and are led by nature, like babies in their mother's laps. They are unable to undo the ties that bind them to the rigid principles that guide the world of forms. Thus, they need time in order to be renewed. That is why we cannot do without the recovery time needed for someone who has left the physical vehicle in infancy. Because after the biological struggle of reincarnation or discarnation for those who are in the early stages of acquiring mental power, time has to function as an indispensable element for restoration. The length of that time depends on how the learner applies him or herself to acquire inner light through his or her own moral growth. So what are we being told? This is wonderful information in books by Spiritist mediums. Once again, we are being told our ability to free ourselves from the materialistic world and concentrate on loving and helping others does make a difference in subsequent lives. With a superior pool of knowledge, we are able to recover our spiritual form, while those who have been reincarnated to begin another trial without first attaining a taste of the wonderfulness of a spiritual life are at a disadvantage. We are truly creatures of our own mind. We should invest as much energy in the development of our inner bodies as we do in our outward appearance. So, let's get back to Daisy. Daisy didn't only tell her family about the spirits around her, but of the spirit realm too. Her mother heard her tell her sister's name was Lulu. This is how she recorded the conversation. Daisy exclaimed, "Oh, Lulu, is it not strange? We always thought the angels had wings, but it is a mistake. They don't have any." And Lulu replied, "But they must have wings, else how do they fly down from heaven?" "Oh, they don't fly," she answered. "They just come. When I think of Ali, he is here." So, again, she's correct. Daisy thought in her 10-year-old mind that merely thinking of a person caused them to come. Her understanding is correct, except the process is not only in her mind. Her thought reached her brother, Ali, then he came to her by volitation. Spirits are able to move by thoughts. Spiritism, again, calls it volitation, movement by thinking of your destination, and then one travels there. It is as fast as the speed of the idea will take you. The speed of light is not a speed limit in the spirit world. She described the juxtaposition of the two dimensions in the same location. Her mother inquired, this is what her mother said. "Once I inquired, 'How do you see the angels?' And she replied, 'I do not see them all the time, but when I do, the walls seem to go away. I can see ever so far, and you cannot begin to count the people. Some are near, and I know them. Others I've never seen before.'" She mentioned the name of Mary C.T., the sister of Mrs. S., who was a neighbor of ours in Nevada City, and said, "You know, she had such a bad cough, but she is well now and so beautiful, and she is smiling to me." I was sitting by her bedside, and her hands clasped mine. Now, that's amazing what Daisy's telling her mother. On our earth, what we see, what we feel, what we hear is but a fraction of what is actually around us. There is so much more. There are beings, sights, and sounds that are invisible to all but a tiny minority of us. When we see an opaque wall, Daisy sees beyond it and beholds an expanse, a landscape with people, trees, and animals, a whole world. This is why I keep saying, the spirit, we live in this logical construct. What we think is solid, that wall behind me, those books behind me, the picture behind me, all looks real to you. And to us, it is real. We should think of it as real, but it's all a logical construct. And when we get out of this dense body and we get rid of the filters that are keeping us on this earth the way we are, which is very useful because we're here on earth to change our personality. We're not here to become geniuses or here to become rich. We're here to modify ourselves. It's all for a good reason. But when you go on the other side, you'll see so much more. And Daisy, lying in the bed on the surface of the earth, could only see the lower zone where she was, right? She couldn't see heaven. She saw everything around. In that area where souls have not yet found their way into one of the heavenly spheres that they must reside till they learn to follow the path of the light. While spirits from higher levels are free to roam at any level below theirs. Spirits in the lower zone aren't able to ascend up to heaven. You are always able to ascend at the level, to be at the level you are, and then descend downwards. So Daisy was probably seeing many spirits who came from higher levels to help her. And then there was probably other spirits further off in her point of view that she could see wandering around, who were not from levels of heaven. And when Daisy leaves her frail body and climbs the steps to heaven, she'll witness a whole new range of colors, sounds, and light. She will feel that overwhelming sense of love that other spiritual journeyers have documented. Now, let's talk about Daisy's last hours. Her mother wrote about her last minutes, and last hours, I should say. This is what she wrote. The morning of the day she died, she asked me to let her have a small mirror. I hesitated, thinking the sight of her emaciated face would be a shock to her, but her father, sitting by her, remarked, "Let her look at her poor little face if she wants to." So I gave it to her. Taking the glass in her two hands, she looked at her image for a time, calmly and sadly. At length she said, "This body of mine is about worn out. It is like that old dress of Mama's hanging there in the closet. She doesn't wear it anymore, and I won't wear my body anymore. Because I have a new spiritual body which will take its place. Indeed, I have it now, for it is with my spiritual senses I see the heavenly world, while my body is still here. You will lay my body in the grave, because I will not need it again. It was made for my life here, and now my life here is at an end, and this poor body will be laid away, and I shall have a beautiful body like Allie's. Do not cry, Mama. It is much better for me to go now. I might have grown up to be a wicked woman, like so many do. God knew what was best for me. Papa, you love the children, so do I, and you will try to do them good and teach them." Then she said to me, "Mama, open the shutters and let me look out at the world for the last time. Before another morning, I shall be gone." And as I obeyed her loving request, she said to her father, "Raise me up, Papa." Then, supported by her father, she looked through the window whose shutters I had opened and called out, "Goodbye, sky, goodbye, trees, goodbye, flowers, goodbye, white rose, goodbye, red rose, goodbye, beautiful world," and added, "How I love it, but I do not wish to stay." That evening, when it was 8:30, she herself observed the time and remarked, "It is 8:30 now. When it is 11:30, Allie will come for me." She was then, for the time being, reclining on her father's breast, with her head upon his shoulders. That was a favorite position, as it rested her. She said, "Papa, I want to die here. When the time comes, I will tell you." Lulu has been singing for her, and as 8:30 was Lulu's bedtime, she arose to go. Bending over Daisy, as she always did, she kissed her and said good night. Daisy put her hand, and stroking tenderly her sister's face, said her good night. And when Lulu was halfway up the stairs, Daisy again called out after her in a clear, sweet, earnest tone, "Good night and goodbye, my sweet, darling Lulu." At about 11:15, she said, "Now, Papa, take me up. Allie has come for me." After her father had taken her, she asked us to sing. Presently, someone said, "Call Lulu," but Daisy answered promptly, "Don't disturb her, she is asleep." And then, just as the hands of the clock pointed to the half hour past 11, the time she predicted that Allie was to come to take her with him, she lifted both arms and said, "Come, Allie," and breathed no more. Boy, get some water. Very emotional. Then tenderly laying her loved but lifeless form upon the pillow, her father said, The dear child had gone, and added, "She will suffer no more." So I always get emotional. Even when I was writing this, I almost was coming to tears. It's just one heck of a book. The death of a child is always a tragedy to the parents, their joint creation, the object of their undying love, who leaves them before the natural separation which occurs as a child moves to young adulthood. Daisy's narrative, her description of what she saw, what she heard, allowed her family to realize she was merely passing from one loving family to another, that nothing would harm her in her new home. On the contrary, life couldn't be more perfect, more loving, and more healthy. And what you have just read, this is a book from 1909, and it happened in, 1864. And we read these things in the stories of NDEs and other stories that people experience. That's why when our current culture says, well, if you believe in the afterlife, or you believe in God or Jesus or religion or Buddha or whoever, you're just fooling yourself and you need a crutch. And honestly, I thought that too before I discovered Spiritism, and for these things happened to me like this that it could not explain given our science as it is today. I have come to the realization that our science, and a good scientist will tell you this also, our science doesn't know. They know so little. There's so much more to discover. They don't know everything, and any good scientist will tell you that. And there are things that can't be explained. And this is how we all need to find our own spiritualism, is within our own heart. These occurrences will happen, and you'll have to say, well, there must be something else. There can't just be this death and nothing. In your heart, you know this is true. In your heart, you know that the spirit world loves you. And so therefore, remember that any child, and Daisy's also, her sojourn on earth was for a purpose. She experienced one small step in her learning process to rid herself of any blemishes, any imperfections which would impede her upward quest to become a better spirit. Daisy's death would serve as an inspiration to her parents and to all who came into contact with her during her last hours. A glimpse was given to that tight community of what existed on the other side, that we don't just deteriorate and our essence is lost forever. We transform into a lighter being, a spirit, retaining our personality, knowledge, and characteristics. Death is not the end. It is the reintroduction back into the world from whence you came. Hopefully, for those who worked and studied hard and learned the lessons that were given to us, but gifted to us, I should say, you come back to the real world, the spirit world, a superior person. That's all that any of us can hope and pray for. I hope you've enjoyed this. And for those who are interested in reading more about near-death experience and what it has taught us, again, I will say that you can read my book, The Spirit World Talks to Us, 12 Accounts from Near-Death and Other Experiences. And then to learn more about the spirit universe, the spirit world, I recommend my series of 3 books, Heaven and Below, Spirits in the Spirit Universe, and How We Are Guided by Spirits. And in fact, Heaven and Below is now out on audio. So I have Heaven and Below on paperback, Kindle, and audio format. So it's all there. You can go to my site, nwspiritism.com, look at the right-hand side, and click on any of my books. I have 14 books. I hope that any of them would be of interest to you. If you want to know more about Spiritism, you can find the Spirits book. You can find the Spirits book. You can find all of Allan Kardec's books on PDF. Just wonderful. It won't cost you a dime. That's how I found it. I didn't spend one penny. Find it on PDF, read his books. That's what I did. Then I just absorbed everything I could find. It's just amazing. In my series of 3 books, between what was written by Allan Kardec, Yvonne Pereira, Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, and the Reverend G. Val Owen, it's just so much is exposed to us. And I have it in encapsulated form. I bring in other information from other places. I talk about heaven, why there's heaven, what's the process of heaven, how we keep learning in heaven. Who's Jesus? You don't know the real Jesus. Jesus is this powerful, wonderful, loving person who's control of our planet and other planets besides. But is just it's the information is there for you to pick up, to learn about the other side. And when you learn about the other side, you will understand and realize why you're here, why things happen to you that seem random but really aren't. It'll give you a whole new perspective on life. And I want to say, God bless to everyone. God bless and good night. God bless.